This episode contains scary content that could be unsettling for some audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Picture, if you will, two children raised behind drawn curtains and quiet walls, where the outside world was studied but rarely touched. Years pass, and those children grow into adults, carrying questions, doubts, and memories that flicker like shadows on the edge of a lantern's glow. Now they return, not to relive the past, but to examine the strange stories of the present. Stories of folly, failure, and fragile humanity. Their journey begins here, in a place both familiar and unsettling. You're listening to Sheltered Sages.
And welcome back again to Sheltered Sages. I am one of your hosts, Phillip.
And I'm Andrew.
It's a much creepier episode. I hope you liked that little fun intro. We're in the spooky season now.
Yes, it is 2 days from Halloween. By the time this releases, this will be releasing on the 29th.
Absolutely. So we're a little bit more subdued, a little more creepy. Even if you look at the lights and the style of this podcast, it's a little more like that because today we're going into a Geek Dive. Now, Andrew, could you explain to our audience what a Geek Dive is?
Absolutely. So every 4 episodes, we do a dive into one of our interests, one of our passions, one of our things that we geek out about. And we've done things on Dungeons and Dragons. We've done it on music most recently. But today, we're going into another passion of ours, which ties very well with Halloween.
It does.
Writing. Specifically, I don't want to say horror.
No.
But things that spook us. Unsettling. Things of strange nature.
Yeah. So we decided it would be really fun and interesting for us to each write a scary story and then read it on this podcast for all of you.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is good.
So if you're waiting for another one of our regularly Reddit stories episodes, maybe go to the next episode after this one or to the previous episode before this one. We have more Reddit stories, but for this one, we're going to do a little something different. If you want more of these episodes, please let us know.
Absolutely.
We're happy to do it. I will force Andrew to write more stories because he's really good at writing, and I want to hear more stories from him.
No, it is good, though, to have something to like, because he reminded me, he's like, we're doing this episode, you need to write your story. And I'm just like, I know, and it's been sitting in my head. But to like have that, it's an ADHD thing, to have like a deadline looming, you just have to sit down and work on it.
That's fair.
And so with that in mind, we've already done the intro. So, Phillip, I believe you're doing the first story. I'm going to mute my mic. You will still be able to see me as things happen. If he chooses to pan over to my reaction during the editing. But I'm going to sit here, and I recommend you all do the same. I have a wonderful cup of tea.
Yeah.
So if you have a preferred beverage, hot cocoa, a nice tea, or a pumpkin spice latte, grab your drink. Settle in, grab a comfy blanket, grab your favorite horror movies and chill sweatshirt, and let's get started.
Absolutely. This story's name is Snitches. It is written by myself and narrated by myself. Jeremy Whitehall was new to Kingston Heights. New school, new streets, new faces that didn't care who he was or where he came from. He wasn't the kind of kid people shoved into lockers or made fun of. He was the other kind of awkward. The kind that just made you invisible. You didn't pick on him, you just didn't even notice him. That is, until Clark Hudson came along. Clark was the school's golden boy. Tall, confident, the kind of kid who could sink a three-pointer without looking. Still hand in his homework on time, and somehow get away with breaking every dress code rule in the book. The girls liked him, the guys wanted to be him, and Jeremy? Well, Jeremy was just surprised Clark even knew his name. "Hey, you doing anything tonight?" Clark had asked at lunch, spinning a basketball in one hand. Jeremy shook his head. Cool. Meet us at the old Graven manufacturing plant. You know where that is? Jeremy didn't, but he said yes anyway. That night, he found himself picking his way through cracked pavement and weeds until the dark outline of the plant loomed ahead. The rusted roof reflected a pale silver under the moon, and a broken sign leaned at the entrance. Clark was there, along with Jesse, tall and wiry with bleached hair, Paul, stocky with a mean laugh, Fan, quiet but with eyes that missed nothing, and Green. Real name Randall Green, but no one ever called him that. The inside of the warehouse smelled like dust and oil. They spent the first 20 minutes breaking things, throwing bricks through dusty glass, smashing old filing cabinets before climbing the iron ladder to the roof. There was one bottle of whiskey between them, and after a while, someone suggested a game. Truth or drink, Jesse said. If you don't answer, you drink. The secrets started small. Cheating on a math test, stealing from a gas station. Then they got darker. By the time it reached Jeremy, the bottle was half empty, and everyone was looking at him like they didn't expect him to have anything worth saying. Come on, Whitehall, Clark urged, grinning. Don't let us down. Jeremy tried to think. He'd never stolen anything big, never snuck out at night, never kissed anyone he shouldn't have. Then a memory bubbled up, one he'd buried deep. Back in his old town, he'd known a boy named Peter. Quiet, always with his nose in a comic book. People picked on him, but one afternoon, after an especially cruel round of teasing, Jeremy decided to sit with him. Over time, Peter opened up. One gray afternoon, the two of them had been walking home when Peter stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. I've got a secret, Peter had said. The worst thing I've ever heard. The person who told me said I couldn't tell anyone, or else. But I'm tired of being the only one who knows. Peter told him. It was horrible. It was the kind of thing you wish you could unhear. Jeremy never told anyone. Until now. When he finished, there was silence on the rooftop. Even Fan looked rattled. Clark laughed once, nervously. Well, dang. Winner. They climbed down. Everyone was still shaking off what they'd heard. Clark clapped Jeremy on the shoulder. That was messed up, but good job, man. Didn't think you had it in you. Jeremy was riding high. For the first time in his memory, he had people, real people, who wanted him around. His new friends had laughed at his jokes, slapped him on the back, told him he was all right. It was intoxicating. He could almost feel the confidence pulling in his chest, threatening to spill over. The cracked pavement beneath his sneakers felt lighter, the night air cleaner. He had to keep himself from skipping like a kid. Cool people didn't skip. Then again, he didn't actually know how cool people walked. He was so wrapped up in trying to figure it out, shoulders forward, slower pace, hands in pockets, that he almost didn't notice the figure ahead. Beneath a lone streetlight, maybe 30 yards away, something stood completely still. Humanoid, small-framed. Its outline was sharp against the pool of light, like someone had cut it from the dark with a razor. Jeremy slowed, squinted. Whoever it was, if it was one of his new friends, they looked shorter than him. Skinnier. Way skinnier. He stopped in the middle of the street. The night was dead quiet. The figure didn't move. He took a cautious step forward. The edges of the streetlight's glow shimmered against something about its head. Something wrong. And then it tilted. Slowly. Unnaturally. The way a cat sizes up a mouse. From the shadows of its face, a mouth began to spread. Not open, spread, wide, wider, far past what it should have been possible, until an entire row of pale teeth gleamed under the light. Jeremy didn't think. He ran. He plunged into the narrow spaces between the warehouses, sneakers smacking asphalt, heart beating so hard it blurred the edges of his vision. The cold air stabbed his lungs, but he didn't slow. Behind him, scuttling. Fast. Too fast. A ragged, high-speed scrape of limbs against the ground, each impact uneven, animalistic. He pushed harder. His breathing turned into panicked wheezes. The sound followed, getting louder, sharper, now mixed with a wet, rasping inhale, like it was tasting the air he left behind. A metal door flashed into peripheral vision. One of the warehouse offices. He bolted towards it, half praying, half begging. The handle turned, unlocked. He slipped inside, slammed it shut, pressed his back against the cold steel. Darkness swallowed him whole. He waited. Nothing. Not even the wind. The quiet was heavy, pressing on his eardrums until he could hear his own blood rushing. After a long moment, he forced himself to move. His shoes sank into worn carpet. His eyes began to adjust. Rows of low desk, scattered pencils, curled motivational posters. Teamwork makes the dream work. If he hadn't been terrified, he might have laughed. The faint glow of an exit sign flickered far at the back. He moved toward it. The lights exploded on. Buzzing fluorescence screamed into the silence. Jeremy flinched, landing hard on his palms. He whipped around, scanning the room. Nothing. No movement. No shadow. He started to get up. A sound slid into his ear. Soft as breath, but too close. Snitches get. It was wet, strained, like the words had been dragged through something rotten before they reached him. Jeremy froze. Snitches get. Louder now. Closer. No direction, just there. His chest tightened. His breath went shallow. Snitches get. The last word hit like a shout, ricocheting off the walls. The sound came from everywhere. Jeremy's resolve shattered. He sprinted toward the exit sign. He rounded the corner and nearly collided with it. The creature was crouched low, spindly arms splayed against the carpet. It rose in broken jerks, revealing a figure both childlike and impossibly wrong. A torn, lace-trimmed dress hanging from a frame of bones and sinew. Fingers too long, ending in a grip around half of a massive, rusted scissor blade. Its head was swollen and lopsided, hair hanging in slick ropes. That mouth, God, that mouth. It was already smiling, stretched to a grin that looked like it might split the skull in half. The eyes were worse, black pools with a glint like coagulated blood. Snitches get! The shriek ripped through him. He turned, bolted in the opposite direction. Behind him, desks splintered as it bounded over them, limbs hammering surfaces at unnatural angles, the blade scraping deep into wood. He slammed the door at the far end, only to find himself in a tiny closet. The knob rattled instantly. The voice was right there. Snitches get, snitches get, snitches get. The chant built, overlapping itself louder and faster until the words became a jagged wall of noise. Tears burned down his cheeks as he held the knob with white knuckles. Finally, in a desperate shout, he blurted, "Stitches! Snitches, get stitches!" Silence. Then, the lights died. In the dark, the voice returned, whispering, "Snitches, get stitches." Jeremy Whitehall disappeared from Kingston Heights on October 11th, 2024. Some people say he ran away. Others say he got lost in the warehouses. But where he went and why? Well, that's a secret. And snitches get the end.
Well done. You should look into voice acting, my friend. That was very well done.
You like that? Okay.
Yes, literal. Whew, that was good. Especially like, the description and just the way you did it. It was so well done.
I wanted it to be, because I know it's mostly an audio thing, I wanted the sounds of it to be like, yeah. And also the descriptions of it, like I was like, I want it to be disgusting.
Yeah.
So hopefully it was like scary.
Oh, it
hopefully
was.
you guys liked it. Let me know.
It was good.
if you liked it, or if you're like, nah, that wasn't cool.
Yeah.
Let's know.
So just so you're aware, Phillip and I have both read each other's stories very much in a like in the early stages, just so we kind of had an idea of what it was that we were going for and things of that nature. And I don't know if you're going to post them with the story, but when I read this the first time, it was 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I was reading over it, and he had put art with it. And I don't know where you found the art.
I made it.
You made it, which is horrifying. Because
I think we should put it on our socials, because I don't want to put it on the episode just in case people are going to be terrified. If you want to see the images,
well, we could just be like, hey, if you looked at those images, imagine that in the pitch black darkness of your room reading on your phone. And that is what you see after reading that story. It was unsettling, but very well done.
Thank you.
So what was your inspiration for this story? I want to talk a little bit about that as, before we go into mine, let's talk about your story and we can talk about it. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. It's like a kind of interview
Absolutely.
section for it.
Yeah.
Yes. So the concept for it is I kind of like making fun of horror movies. I think it's kind of funny how often it's like this creature and then they have one simple task that they're not supposed to do in order to stay away from it. Yeah. I do enjoy the concept in like this fictional world where the rules that you're supposed to follow, like in the horror movies, like It Follows or I'm blanking on the Babadook, where you have these very specific rules that you need to keep up with in order to keep it, and also that the monster must follow these rules, otherwise they get killed off. And so I wanted to create something that was in that kind of vein, whereas, and I came up with the idea of these secrets. Where, in the story, it's snitches get stitches. And so it's like, okay, cool. That's also why it has like the scissor blade, because it's going to cut something. Therefore, you need to get stitches. And then it's kind of like a sewing kind of motif. I do also love the idea of a secret so terrible that you really don't want to tell anybody about it. And I think in a larger concept for the story is that if I made this into a bigger thing, which I might someday, it's these things that we don't like to talk about. These secrets that we keep inside, that we know are terrible, that we know terrible things have happened in this world. But in order to keep ourselves comfortable moving forward and comfortable just living every single day, we choose to forget or we choose to hide it. And so I wanted this creature to be kind of the embodiment of the darkness that lives within the world that comes after. And so it's kind of like, okay, we don't want to talk about, we know bad things happen, but we'd rather ignore it. But once we do start talking about, then we actually have to deal with it. And we have to deal with what that means for us and deal with the future. And I think that's scarier than any creature that we could go, I'd rather there be a creature out there than the dark stuff that's actually happening in this world.
Not that creature. I've seen pictures. No, thank you.
Oh, I mean, imagine.
Oh, gosh,
you know all the
thank
terrible
you.
things that are happening out there.
It's true. That's true. That's not what this podcast is about. Let's talk about fictional things. Okay, so I have to ask a question, and I haven't asked you this prior to it. Would he have survived if he had not said Stitches? Because it's like Snitches get, and it never says the thing, but it wasn't until, was it Jeremy? Is that the game character's name?
Jeremy Whitehall.
It wasn't until Jeremy said Stitches that it seems like the monster attacked.
Yes.
Is that a requirement of it, that it will not attack you until you finish the sentence? Or is that more of just a fun, like, storytelling motif?
Getting into the lore of this whole thing.
Let's do it, yes.
Funnily enough, homeschoolers, so we have lore for this.
Everything has lore.
Technically, no, it would have still gotten him.
Okay.
The difference is it likes to play with its prey. And so this Snitches get is kind of it asking for a call and response. It's kind of like Marco Polo to getting there. But eventually you kind of get the idea and you say it. And so this was more for thematic value, where it was like, you know, at the end of it, you know what you did. Basically, it's saying over and over again, you know what you did wrong. What's going to happen to you next?
Yeah.
And so it probably would have just continued playing with him until he finally said it, but it wasn't going to leave him alone.
Got it. Okay.
Like
so there's no way of like beating it by not saying it. You've already lost when you share the secret.
Yes. So
Fascinating.
like the thing is, if you hear the secret, you're safe technically. You just can't tell anyone else what the secret is.
Well, it reminds me, I haven't seen the movie, but it reminds me a lot. I think we talked about it a little bit when you were sharing this concept with me. It reminds me a lot of the Truth or Dare movie.
Yeah.
But like the Blum, which awful movie, but it's an intriguing concept of like a literal like entity attached to this traditional game that's silly and that we don't think a lot about, or like in the Mike Flanagan Ouija movie or things like that, where it's like, not that I've seen either of these movies, but I'm familiar with them, and that reality that like sometimes these things that start out as super innocent in our minds have a lot of connotation. And also like obviously I don't know if this is where you thought of, but this is my favorite part about like stories. I don't know if you thought about the connotation too of like what happens as these secrets come out and the destruction that it brings on communities as more and more people learn this secret and start sharing it and is gossiping. Kind of like that was what I was thinking about. Like, oh, if this story gets shared by another person, everyone is going to die as they start to learn the secret and they start to share it.
My idea was later on, if I ever made this a series or something crazy like that, which honestly, if it becomes something, that'll be really fun, is basically the story comes out in the newspaper. And what happens when everyone knows the secret? Oh, God. What happens when everyone in an entire town realizes what it is? How does first the creature comprehend this? And what happens to the entire town of people who know this secret and are telling other people about that?
And then you can have the final image of like someone riding through town on an empty town, and then a single newspaper floating through the wind, landing in front of it.
Exactly.
And them not reading it, but picking it up and taking it with them.
To the next town, where you're like, they know the secret now.
Here it goes.
It's like a virus going from place to place.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's really intriguing. So well done, sir.
Thank you.
Very good story.
All right.
Yours is really creepy.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I'm not going to go into a lot of details on mine, other than mine pivots a little bit away from the direct visuals that you gave. Yeah. And I'm going to share my story. I'm going to do my best to read it through. And obviously, we'll see how my voice goes.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do the so as he was doing. I'm going to mute my mic. I'm going to drink some water and enjoy Andrew's story.
All right. So this story is called The Family Monster. Written by me and narrated by me. The 8th birthday party. The monster arrives. Well, today's the day. It's my 8th birthday party. Mom got me this cool journal to write down all the stuff in it. I guess it's kind of like a diary that girls use, but this one's cool because it's got a creeper on the front of it, and each page inside has a different block from the game. Obviously not a diary in the slightest, a journal, a really cool, mature, manly journal. Well, this was probably one of the cooler things that I got today. The rest of the stuff was just wired, weird. That's how you spell that word? For sure. Yeah, that's how you spell that word. I didn't have to ask Mom. That's how you spell it. My party was going pretty well, as far as I could tell. Mom got the cake I wanted. Dad had the PlayStation set up for my friends and I to hop on a Fortnite and Minecraft. And that one aunt whose name I can never remember came down from Wisconsin with some chocolate fudge. She said it's chocolate cheese, but I think she's lying because it tastes just like fudge. But then Dad got that phone call. Nothing changed at first. I just didn't see him for a bit. The party was going great. Then suddenly there was this loud crashing sound coming from the garage. As I got up to see what it was, Mom grabbed me by the arm, shaking her head and telling me to go take a seat. I got out of her grab just in time to see Dad disappearing into the garage, a large black bag over his shoulder, and a strange smell coming from the open doorway. After that, it was really hard to go back into the party. Dad didn't come out of the garage the entire rest of the day, but he made up for it by giving me a Nintendo Switch. Guess I should have talked about that besides the journal. So I guess I can forgive him from being away. Mom had this weird face though, like she was worried about something, but I kept telling her that I wasn't going to take the candles out of the cake while they were lit this time. I would blow them out first, then eat the frosting on the bottom. She must not have heard me, because even though she nodded, the weird look didn't go away. As the day went on, all of my friends started talking about the strange smell coming from the garage. Like some of the chemicals that Mom tells me I'm not supposed to touch under the sink, but mixed with a log that's been sitting too long in one place, and lots of shrooms and stuff are growing on top of it. It started to get really bad. When I told Mom about it, she put on that smile she puts on when people come up to her in the store that she knows. The one that isn't her real smile. She told me not to worry about it and to enjoy the party, but by that time everybody was ready to go home. Now, here's the part where I messed up. And it kind of scared me a bit. And Mom said she wasn't going to read this, so you better not read this, Mom. I snuck down to the garage after Mom and Dad went to bed. That awful smell was definitely coming from in there. I almost opened the door to see what was inside, but I didn't, because I heard something coming from the other side. It sounded like a strange, wet chewing, like when our dog gagged on a bone that one time. Then I heard scratching and a strange wailing sound. I don't know what my dad brought home, but it scares me. Clearly it scares Mom too. It can only be one thing. It's a monster. 9th birthday party. The signs of change. Yeah, it's me again. I'm going to try writing in this one better this year. Yeah, I know I only wrote in the first one for about a week, but this one will be different. I'm a better writer now. I just turned 9. I have to be mature and show how deep and powerful my thoughts are. Well, things were much different for this birthday. I didn't have as big of a party this time as I did last year. Mom said something about needing to be selective, whatever that means. I just had my 2 best friends and their parents over, and we played video games and watched a movie. Mom and Dad were fighting again, though. They've been fighting a lot since I turned 8. Mom always says, we can't afford it, and Dad says something like, well, we'll just have to figure it out. I never hear what starts the fight, but it usually starts getting loud around that point. I think this one was about the party plates. Dad pulled out the fun ones with all the words on it, and Mom made a face at him when she didn't think I was looking. It started to get a little loud, to the point where my friends' parents gave each other a weird look, then turned up the movie when we weren't watching, so it was harder to hear them. Then came the cake. My parents and friends started to sing, and right after they had finished the second, "To you," a loud sound came from the garage. We all stopped, listening. Suddenly, the bang came again, louder this time. Mom gave Dad a look, and he just made that noise he does when he gets bad news in the mail, then got up and went to the garage. As soon as the door opened, the smell of yucky meat and mold spread into the house, making me and my friends cough just a pinch. We waited and waited and waited, but Dad didn't come back. Mom said we should go ahead and cut the cake without him, but Dad always did that. I asked Mom to wait for him, but she said that she wasn't sure when he would be back, and we shouldn't waste time. The cake didn't taste very good. I guess I just was hoping that the monster wouldn't take Dad away again. He seemed to go out there for hours every night. He hasn't helped me with my homework, played in our special world on Minecraft, or even tucked me in anymore. I guess I should be okay with that, being 9 years old, but I guess I just wanted him to be there. My friends seemed to be ready to leave after eating the cake, not even wanting to stay with me to open my presents. That was fine, I guess. I'll still see them on Monday, and we can talk about it then. But opening them wasn't the same without them being in the house, and it was just me and Mom. I'm starting to hate the garage. I went downstairs again tonight to look at it, and thankfully this time the light was off. But as I stood there, the strange smell of old, sweaty lunch meat and decaying plants came up under the door. It was so bad I almost puked, running back upstairs to my bed. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think I hate the monster. 10 years old. Curiosity and attachment. So, it's finally here. I'm 10 years old today. Hooray. It was such a weird birthday. Mom asked me if I wanted to have any friends over, but honestly, I didn't. The house always seems to have this smell, and it started to make my clothes smell the same way. All the kids at school noticed, and even one of the teachers just gave me this sorry look, like I was sick or something. And in terms of friends, I don't really have any right now. My 2 friends that I was close to decided that I was too strange. I guess I can't blame them. I hate the monster too. When I asked Mom if I could go out to the movies, she said no. She's always saying no. Everything costs too much money and we just can't afford it. I just don't understand how that's the case. Dad works so much more now than he did before, and Mom even started working some nights at one of the nearby grocery stores on the weekend. That might start happening more now that I'm 10 and can be left at home alone. Where's all the money going? Why can't we just go out to eat or go to the movies like we used to? Mom tries to give me some presents, but even they weren't that nice. It didn't really feel like she tried. I haven't played Minecraft in years, and she got me some blocks like she did when I was 8. I think she just ran into the store and grabbed the first thing she saw. Dad at least tried. He got me a new game for the Switch, one I had been wanting for a while. I don't think he was supposed to though, because I heard Mom yelling at him later about it in their room. I think they don't know I can hear them from my bedroom, but it's right above theirs. It's always about money, how the monster takes so much of it, and that Dad brought the monster here, so he has to be responsible for making sure that we keep it fed. It was that comment that made me curious. It gave me an idea. I went downstairs and grabbed one of the cupcakes from dinner. No cake this year. Cupcakes were on sale at Mom's store, and put it on a plate outside the garage, quickly knocking on it and then running upstairs. Going down later, I saw it. The cupcake and wrapper gone, but the plate still there, licked clean. Now, as I sit in the bed, I think I can hear it. I think it's happy I gave it the cupcake. I can hear it whispering to me, whispering from the garage. I might have started talking back to it, too. It's hard to understand at times, but from my room, it seems nice. It doesn't like it when my parents fight either. It agrees that Mom's being boring with money and should let me have fun. It thinks Dad's working too much and should be home. I might be writing this at like 4 a.m. because I've been up whispering to the monster now for most of the night. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe the monster and I could be friends. 11 years old, family splintering. Another year older, another birthday gone. I started middle school this year. I had hoped that would help me make new friends, but the smell of mold and rotten meat seemed to be a major detractor in the friend-making department. I figured out why my clothes smelled so bad, and why I can whisper to the monster. My room has a vent that leads into the garage, something about heating during the winter. I don't fully get it, but the monster said it was normal. Mom didn't even try to ask if I wanted to do anything for my birthday this year. She just put in a $3 frozen pizza, put out a box of brownies, and turned on a movie. We didn't even talk. Dad came home from work, opening up the box of brownies and putting 2 candles in it. 11. Get it, he said. And then the monster started banging on the door. Mom didn't even seem to notice, and Dad just gave me a half smile before getting up and making his way to the garage, scratching at his arm as he went, the smell of rotten meat beginning to mix with a greasy smell. Dad had tried to help by getting a perfume and spraying it from time to time in the garage, but now it just seemed to mix with the other smells, churning my stomach when the door was open, even more than it did before. I didn't blame the monster, though. It was lonely, and my dad was the only one who could go into the garage. I had asked him once why that was, and he said it was just for the best. But I think that's a bad excuse. I think he knows that I talk to the monster, that it likes talking to me. Sometimes, I'm starting to think even the monster might like me more than it likes Dad. I started going downstairs at night, sitting outside the garage door. Some nights, we don't even talk. I think it's tired. I just hear this deep, guttural breathing from the other side. But some nights, we whisper back and forth to each other for hours. We complain about Mom and Dad and how frustrating things are. It mentions sometimes that it hates being stuck in the garage, that it wishes it could be in the home with me, get to spend more time with me. I hate it that Mom won't let it inside. It's all her fault. The monster says that if Mom wasn't here, it would be able to be inside the house, that we could talk as much as we want. It could do all the things that Mom could do so much better. Sure, it would smell a bit more, but I'm getting used to it, so maybe allowing it to spread throughout the house would make it less pungent. That's a big word that I learned in school. I think the monster's right. I just wish Mom would leave. Dad and I would be happier with just the monster. 12 years old. The breaking point. Mom's gone. She left after dinner, told Dad that she couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't take the smell, couldn't take the slamming door, couldn't take the looks I had started to give her when she told me not to go near the door. The fight was so loud I wouldn't have needed to be in my room to hear it, but I was, and I could hear the monster. It was humming with glee. Finally, Mom was gone. She wasn't in the picture. It's about time that she left. She didn't even remember it was my birthday today. I guess Dad didn't either. He's been getting sick a lot lately. He always seems to be either coming in from work or going to work, never home on the weekends anymore. And on the rare occasions that he is home, he's in the garage with the monster. But now that Mom was gone, now that she wasn't in the house anymore, the monster could be free. The monster could come in and live in the house with me and Dad. Everything would be better then. The monster was humming with glee, telling me to come downstairs and open the door. Dad was asleep in his room, the fight with Mom draining him of any energy he had left. Dad would have opened the door for the monster tonight if Mom hadn't fought with him, so it would be perfectly fine for me to open the door for it. It was right, of course. It was right about everything. It was right about Mom forgetting my birthday, about Dad continuing to waste away and not being able to be more present with me, about no one wanting to spend time with me except for it, because no one understood what it was like to have a monster in the garage. It was right. It was time to let it out. I went downstairs, trembling with excitement, my bare feet sticking to the cool tile. The house was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator clicking. The humming sound grew louder with each step until it felt like it was inside my head, vibrating the entire house. I stepped in front of the door, the wood vibrating under my fingertips. The monster almost pulsed behind it, a living heartbeat pressing against the barrier. A thin draft slipped through the gap, damp and foul, carrying a smell like rusted pipes and wet earth and something sweet that had rotted. My lips felt dry as I reached for the doorknob, feeling the cold steel handle against my sweaty palm. I hadn't touched this door in 4 years, not since the monster arrived. The vibrations on the other side intensified. The monster allowed a high, thin whistle, like steam escaping a kettle, but layered with a low growl beneath it. It had been waiting for so long. It wanted to see me face to face. I took a deep breath and slowly turned the knob. My heart was thudding so loud, it felt like it filled the hallway. The hinges squealed as the door creaked open. The smell hit me like a wave. Mold, iron, decay, something thick and wrong, making my eyes water and my stomach twist. Shadows rolled across the floor, and the single bulb in the garage flickered and went out, plunging everything beyond the doorway into darkness. I almost shut the door, but the monster was there, waiting. I pushed it open wider. There was nothing but blackness. Not the nighttime blackness, but a heavy, wet dark, like stepping inside a mouth. I peered into it, searching for a shape, a movement, anything at all. Maybe this was a bad idea. Maybe I should have waited for Dad. I started to close the door, and that's when I saw them. 2 dark, bloodshot eyes floating in the void, wet and glistening. Too low to be human, but too high to be an animal. They looked at me, not blinking, not breathing. A look that began as welcome and turned slowly into something sharper. The eyes hardened. Anger, hunger, hate. And then they were gone. I froze. My hand stayed on the knob. The dark pressed closer. In the next instant, the eyes were right at the crack of the door, inches from my face. A voice like tearing metal shrieked, "Let me out!" I stumbled, trying to slam the door shut, but claws shot out of the darkness, long, hooked, slick with something warm, and raked across my arm. Pain flared white. The claws dug deep. The same claws I'd heard tearing at food and scratching the walls all these years. I screamed as the door banged closed. Whether I pushed it or the monster did, I don't know. I clutched at my arm, blood soaking through my sleeve, and ran upstairs, wrapping it in a towel to stop the bleeding. It's 6 o'clock in the morning now. It hasn't stopped bleeding. I don't think it ever will. I'm crying. I'm too old to be crying. Why? Why did the monster do this to me? 13 years old. It's gone. The monster is gone. I left quietly in the middle of the night. Dad took it out of the garage, leaving the door open. The smell lingers in the house, but it's not fresh, just stagnant and heavy. Something that will hopefully fade with time. Mom came back. She came first thing in the morning when she heard. She was crying. I'm not sure if it was tears of joy because the monster was gone, or joy that she didn't have to share Dad with it anymore. My dad seems relieved. He cried a lot too. They just sat on the couch crying for what felt like hours. I didn't cry. I couldn't cry. I walked into the garage for the first time in 5 years. I remember what it used to look like. Bikes on the wall, toys cluttering the floor, boxes. But it didn't look that way anymore. Claw marks gouged the floor. Strange fluids, scraps, and garbage sat in piles around the room. The back of the garage door was dented and scarred, flecks of dried blood crusted along the frame. I scratched at the itch in my arm. The scar. It had taken months to stop randomly bleeding, and only just recently started to heal, but it itched like hell. I kept it hidden, wearing long sleeves and avoiding Dad when I could. Being here, being by the door, made it itch even worse. So why? Why do I miss it? That thought is the one that makes me cry. makes me fall down onto the floor in the garage and start sobbing. I miss the monster. I miss the conversations. I miss the feeling of closeness. It hurt me so much, but I miss it. Dad and Mom came in when they heard me. They got down on the floor with me, sat with me, and we all cried together. They saw my scar for the first time, and my dad let out a sorrowful wail that shook me to my core. He pulled back his sleeve, showing a much older scar, though just as twisted and wicked. We hugged each other and cried. I don't remember falling asleep, but I woke up on the couch to Mom's soft voice. When I opened my eyes, she was smiling, something I hadn't seen in years. She told me to get a shower, get changed. It was my birthday. I told her I didn't want to go anywhere, but Dad came out next and pulled me to my feet. It was time to get out of the house, to go outside and do something together as a family. As we got in the car, heading for my favorite restaurant, I rubbed my thumb up and down the scar. It still hurt. It still itched. But Mom and Dad were in the car with me. They were smiling. The window was rolled down, and I took a deep breath of clean air. I'll always remember the monster. But for now, at least, the smell is gone.
Well done. There's so many emotions in that story. So much. It's like a roller coaster of different emotions throughout that. So I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Like childhood.
Yeah, like childhood. So I'm going to ask you the big question.
Yeah.
What inspired you to write that story?
Honestly, it's hard to explain because I want to make it very clear is this is not a direct like one-to-one something that happened in my childhood. I want to make that clear. That's not something that this is. But I have been a person who has experienced grief. Mm-hmm. I've experienced the loss of a lot of people in my life. And I have a lot of friends who have experienced a lot of loss. And I'm happy to say that I haven't had a lot of people in my life that have been on the abusive side of things. I've had a lot of people who are very loving and understanding and not perfect in any capacity, but it's the stories of people who have had awful interactions with people that they still miss, that inspired this. That reality that there are these people in our lives that sometimes are so hurtful to us, but we keep around because they're important.
Yeah.
And that they hurt us so much, but when they go, we still miss them.
That's fair.
And so that was kind of the inspiration for this story, for about a child who that's what it is it's a monster that got brought into the house that was being taken care of, that kind of destroyed the family from the inside out, that he thought was becoming close to him, that eventually hurt him too.
Yeah. I like the journey that the child takes through this experience. I think the way that you took a very kind of visceral and physical object or entity like this monster, and instead of telling it from the perspective of the father who potentially knows what this creature is, or the mother who's potentially fighting against it, you tell it from the perspective of the child, where I think that's an even more interesting state. The kid doesn't know what this is. The kid has no idea. Like, you can tell from the story. They have no clue what's going on here, but they are interested in what this is. And first they're scared, then it turns into this kind of the respect of the monster, and then sort of a kind of love to finally sort of the fear once again. So I love those different emotions. Is there a specific reason why you put so many of this like journey of emotions into there instead of just going, it's a terrible monster?
Yeah. So my thought process behind it was very much this. I envisioned a family member. And this is so my original, and I want to talk about this a little bit before I delve more into like the journey aspect of it, because I've shared this story with a few people before, and I was very intentional about not sharing what the monster was supposed to represent, to letting it be this up to interpretation, this like form of psychological horror, which I think is where I was going with this. And a lot of people come up with some really interesting things. Some people drew it to trauma and just like how a parent can bring that trauma into the house, and it can grow and fester and then eventually pass on to the child. Or I've had another person that told me they thought it was addiction, and how like a parent or someone could bring in an addiction into the house, especially with the idea of it taking money and taking time and all these other kind of things. Yeah. And I love those interpretations. And that's honestly my favorite thing about this and about this story. And so if you took something away from it, besides what I'm about to tell you, I think that's the best part of writing something like this, is the monster can look different to you based on what your experience was.
That's fair. Yeah.
For me, when I was doing this, and I kind of talked about it a little bit, the idea that I had in my mind was an elderly family member. My wife, not specifically someone that I experienced, but my wife has talked about elderly family members that have gone that didn't go out in the best way. And this reality that there's this, especially in our culture, this reality of like we have to take care of the people, like our family and things like that, even if they treat us awful, even if they were horrible to us, even if they were abusive to us, even if they destroyed us from the inside out, we have an obligation to take care of them.
Yeah, they're family.
They are family.
They deserve to be taken care of regardless. Yeah.
Yes. And so while I respect the sentiment from that, and while I respect the thing, there has to be a line that is drawn when it comes to allowing that person that has hurt others to hurt members of your own family by bringing them into your household. And so the idea is that the father brought it in with the intention of it staying separate from the family. Close, but not part of the family. I'll take care of it. I know this family member is awful, but I can keep it separate. I can keep them away. I can do what I need to do. And then the reality that over time it starts taking more and more and more. And the mom noticed it first. Yeah. And that's the thing that one of the people that read it related it to addiction. And because that reality of like, there's usually someone that sees the addiction and starts calling it out, and they're the bad guy. Yeah. They become the bad guy in the narrative because they're the one who's trying to put a stop to it. And that's what I envisioned the mom for. Okay. The mom was the one who saw the harm that it was doing to the family, and at first was trying to be supportive. Yeah. Like supportive from a distance, supportive, trying to help, but also trying to keep boundaries. And dad ignored boundaries. Son started ignoring boundaries. Yeah. And eventually the monster preyed on that to push the mom out of the household, like some of these abusive family members can do. And it was by getting mom out of the household that it made its way to be able to do the most harm. Yeah. But yeah, so that was just kind of my idea behind it. It's just this idea of how, and especially with the child, and like they tried to keep it isolated because they knew that this family member, this monster, could be manipulative. Yeah. Could manipulate the child. And so they tried to keep it separate, but it found a way. Just like a lot of these people who prey on individuals do, is they find a way. And once they got a way in, they worm their way inside and tell you and turn you against the people that are trying to protect you and trying to help you. Yeah. Until they get you into a position where they can hurt you themselves. They
twist the narrative into something that makes more sense to them. Exactly. Well, we've heard of a lot of those more toxic situations. That's how it is. Those toxic individuals find a way to make everyone else the bad guy except for them. Yeah. Which is really scary.
Yeah. And so that's where like the inspiration for the story came from, is very much just this idea of like, yes, I wanted to share this story of like how this person, this monster, can come into the home, even if it's from good intentions, from a family member, and destroy it from the inside out. But on the flip side, and kind of talking about that moment, that last chapter, talking about what happens when they go.
Yeah, that's what my question was, kind of the last one I have for you. What happened to the monster, if you feel comfortable letting us know?
The monster died.
Okay.
Yeah, the monster was on its deathbed and the monster died. And Dad, so that line, and it can be interpreted a lot of different ways. And that's why I think I like the addiction analogy.
Yeah,
because
it left in the night.
It left in the middle of the night. Dad took it out of the garage, leaving the door open. So you can interpret that as Dad physically is like, I'm not doing this anymore. Yeah. You could also interpret it as it was a body that was taken out of the garage and he left the door open. Wow. And so that was that idea, and that the image I wanted to end on was the reality of the trauma happens. Yeah. The people are hurt. It's like, and that scene, I knew from the minute that I knew that the kid was going to get a scar, that I wanted the dad to have one too, to know the damage that could be done.
Yeah, very powerful motif there too. Yeah.
And I wanted that scene at the very end where they're driving off and it's mom and dad smiling and that smell of it going away. Not that it ever goes away. Yeah. But it's by coming together as a family, by joining together as a unit, just that same thing that the monster tried to destroy. Yeah. That same thing can bring everyone back together and begin the process of healing. It needs all of those people working together.
It's powerful. It's beautiful. This is a beautiful story. I mean, it's scary, it's visceral, it's terrifying, it's sad, it's moving. But I would say ultimately it is a beautiful interpretation of a very complex situation, kind of like you talking about, that is put into a very wonderful way of explaining it, a monster in there. I'm pretty sure you're not saying the person, if you're talking about any individuals that are there, are monsters, but it's more like the idea of that's the feeling from a child trying to understand what's going on there. So wonderful work.
It's definitely this idea of, especially with family, it's so complex. Yeah. It's so complex when you get family into the mix. But we love them still. Yeah. And we have all these really fond memories. Yeah. And that reality of that, just even though we have these positive memories of them, they can still cause so much harm. Yep. And so it's just very important to sometimes recognize it. And this, I think, is like, I hope people think about it, is it's like taking that moment of like, are there other options? Were there other options available that wouldn't subject my family to this pain, that wouldn't subject my children to this kind of harm?
That's fair. So yeah, very powerful. Well done.
Thank you.
Fantastic job.
This was so much fun. Like, I know this is a much longer episode than we normally do. And I'm sure it's gonna be a little shorter when you edit it out. I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to edit.
You're good. Yeah.
But I like it. And that's what I love about stories. Yeah. And like specifically writing, specifically I think with horror, and like not necessarily just scary stories, but unsettling things, is they cause you to have to sit and have to think about life and have to think about things like that. Like even talking about your story, I didn't want to talk too much about trauma because I knew my story was going to kind of focus on that a lot. Yeah. But even your story has that underlying of the dangers of trauma and what happens when we keep secrets inside, and how the damage that happens once they get out. And it's like there's a lot of things that you can pull, even if you don't intend for them. Like, that's what I love about sharing this story with people, is that you might hear it, and if you don't hear my interpretation of it, you might get something completely different. And I think that's one of the cool parts about especially psychological horror. I didn't want to make the monster an in-law. I didn't want to make the monster an aunt, an uncle. I wanted the monster to be something that you could put a face to, something that you could put
style of a creature. Yeah.
And that face could be addiction. That face could be trauma. That face could be anything else that you're thinking of.
Yeah. And I love that the idea, kind of continuing along with that writing, especially in, I'd say, scary, more horror style things, it allows us to experiment or talk through some of the more complex things in life with a very more physical side of it. So when you're talking about the complexities of having a family member that is more complicated in your life and things like that, sure, you can just write it down explicitly, but unless you have all of the, backing knowledge of who this person is and how they behaved, or the backing knowledge of what kind of addiction this is, it gets complicated. Versus when you put it to, oh, it's a monster. everyone knows what a monster is. Everyone can understand that. But now you can really focus on how that is making you react and how that's making you feel versus who it actually is and what it's actually. So like you were saying, that ambiguous nature of what a lot of these creepy stories are actually helps us to pin down more specifically what we're trying to get across. And I really love that.
And that's one of my favorite things. Like, I love watching movies. Like, you mentioned The Babadook. Yeah. Which is a very unsettling movie.
Oh, very unsettling.
Very unsettling. If you haven't seen it, watch it with caution.
It's rated R.
It's rated R. It's very unsettling, very creepy.
Yes.
But it's very ambiguous intentionally. And it's about this, like, about grief. Mm-hmm. And how grief is this monster if we let it run unchecked.
Yep.
And I love it. But I love seeing people interpret it and discuss it and be like, but what if it's about this? It could also be this. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the best thing of writing is like an author should not sit down and be like, this is the only thing this means.
Yeah.
Because to different people reading it, different interpretations are going to take it a different way.
That's fair.
And I think that's what's really, really cool about it.
Yes. Well, so, I'm excited. This is a great episode.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed hearing your story and all the things like that.
It was, oh, dude, your reading was so good. I was just like,
It's so creepy.
It's so hard when you're not on mic. I was just like, I had so many faces that I made. You'll probably see them throughout when you edit.
I recommend watching this one so you just can see our faces as we're reacting. Otherwise, you're just going to hear the story, which is just good too. But thank you for listening. If you want to hear more stories, or if you want to tell us, hey guys, write more stories, or specifically, hey Andrew, can you write more stories, please, so that we can listen to them?
Or Phillip, you should finish this story that you wrote, or like do the whole thing because it was really cool.
Please go to our social media platforms that are out there. I think we have a Facebook, we have a
TikTok.
Instagram. There's, of course, YouTube that you're watching right now or you're listening to right now, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's not Apple Music. It's Apple Podcasts. It's still a separate
podcast. Yes. I don't know why they have so many, but they do. We've been doing live premieres of episodes. I will probably be sitting in this one kind of talking with you all and would love to hear your thoughts, like live reaction. Phillip's told me that he's going to do some sound engineering to make it even more spooky. So it's not just the two of us sitting in a room talking.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, come and join us. Share your stories. If you have your own stories that you want to share or your own write-ins, give us an email at shelteredsages@gmail.com with the subject listener write-in, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, send us your creepy stories, your real stories, what you think Andrew's story is truly about, or what it means to you. So please do that.
Yeah.
I think that's all we have for today.
I think we've kept them long enough. It is Halloween in 2 days, and people need to be able to go prepare.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, happy Halloween. Bye.